She should have never been born. My dad said into a phone he forgot to hang up. 1 week later, I took everything they thought was theirs. My father accidentally neglected to hang up the phone. She's a burden, a disappointment. Should have never been born. I listened silently. I've been paying their $3,100 invoices for 6 years. Next week, I sold my luxury $960,000 home, transferred the titles, and vanished. They returned from their European holiday, smiling until the key didn't fit. The house was empty with a sticky note affixed to the door reading, "Surprise! This is what a burden can do." My father neglected to hang up the phone. That's how it began. I was not meant to hear any of it. I had called him regarding some car title documents. Nothing important, just another errand I discreetly completed for him, as I always did. He claimed he'd check a folder in the garage and placed his phone down. Did not hang up, just left it on the coffee table. Maybe I didn't notice. At first, there was silence, then footsteps. The couch creaked. Then he spoke. "She's a burden," he explained. Clear and cold, as if it were just a fact. She's a disappointment. Should have never been born. I did not move. Not at first. I just sat there with my phone placed on my ear, listening like a child at a locked door. He was not angry. That is what got me. He was not yelling. He was not venting. I believe he was just talking to my mom, perhaps to himself. It didn't matter. The words all landed the same way. A load. A disappointment. I had been covering their mortgage gaps, credit card debt, and energy bills for 6 years, which they had never mentioned to anyone. Quietly, without making a single demand, and never throwing it in their face. Even that month, I donated $3,000 to cover their insurance costs because my father's back ailment prevented him from working just now. And yet, here I was. The weight. The accident that could have been prevented. I did not hang up. I just let the call go long after they discovered. It was still attached. I heard the microwave beep. Laughter in the background. Domestic tranquility, as if they hadn't just gutted their only daughter from the inside out. I did not cry when the phone was ultimately cut off. Whether he noticed or the battery expired, I did not speak. I did not move. I just sat there staring at the window as if it may hold an answer. I'm not sure how long I was frozen like that. Time works differently when everything inside you just stops. The next day, I visited the bank. Not for vengeance. Not yet. Just checking things. My luxury property's mortgage had nearly been paid off. The recent appraisal valued it at $960,000. I had options. Quiet power. No one knew except me. I scheduled an appointment with my real estate attorney, asked about transfer alternatives, title changes, and privacy protocols. I didn't even flinch. When he told me how much money I'd get from a private cash sale, every aspect felt mechanical, as if I were putting together a machine I didn't entirely comprehend. But when I realized I needed to finish construction, I didn't inform anyone. Not my buddies, not my coworkers, definitely not my family. I went to work. I smiled at my neighbor. When my parents flew out to Europe for their vacation, I sent the standard, "Have a great trip" text. A trip I'd helped them afford when they were too stretched after refinancing the house last fall. Then I packed everything silently and efficiently. I sold the house, transferred the deed, changed all forwarding addresses, and then fled. Allow them to smile in Rome, sip wine in Lisbon, and pose in front of the Eiffel Tower. Allow them to savor every moment until the key didn't fit, until they noticed the sticky note on the door. Surprise! This is what a burden can do. I did not always consider myself useful. That happened later. Initially, I was simply the responsible one. The planner, the fixer, the daughter who paid attention and never missed a payment, a birthday, or a deadline, who went her own way, kept her head down, earned a good living, and asked for nothing. And at first, I assumed that was enough. They did not ask me for much, not directly. It began with stuff like, "Your dad's back is acting up again. Could you spot the water bill this month?" Or, Your brother's tuition deadline snuck up on us. We'll pay you back, of course. However, they never did. They eventually stopped faking. I sent them $1,800 to replace their windows after the storm. When their car broke down and they called in a panic from the side of the road, I paid for the repairs. When their property taxes were overdue and my mother wailed on the phone, I wired the money the same day. No questions, no complaints, just support. Then followed the joint accounts, a family card for emergencies only, and my name on their mortgage temporarily to assist with refinancing. Then I discovered my credit score was falling. Quietly, slowly, like a bruise growing beneath the skin. I addressed them once over an unusual charge from a fancy furnishings retailer. My father chuckled and added, "We thought you wouldn't mind. You don't spend it on yourself anyway." My mother simply stated, "It was for the house, but it is technically yours as well." Technically, when my uncle underwent surgery, I paid half of the hospital bill without being asked. They sent me the invoice, believing I would handle it. I did. When my sister's wedding required a venue deposit, they described it as a family gift from you. That wasn't even a conversation, just a charge that appeared on my bank app around 3:00 a.m. I glanced at the number 6,700 and assured myself everything was all right, because they would do the same for me, correct? But nobody ever did. I moved twice in 3 years, and neither move involved lifting a box. When I had bronchitis and begged my mother to bring soup, she stated she was too weary from yoga. When my birthday arrived, they texted me a gift, a glitter cupcake, and said, "Hope. It's a good one. No call, no visit." But when their birthdays came around, I was expected to arrive with flowers, gifts, and reservations. When I forgot once, my mother responded with 3 weeks of chilly silence. I told myself it wasn't worth fighting over, that some people exhibit caring in various ways, and that perhaps I wasn't being generous enough. I gave more, I worked harder. I always made sure the account had enough funds. I did the math. $3,100 every month for 6 years. That is $100. But I didn't think of it that way. Not till the call. She's a burden. Not simply forgotten. Not just taken for granted. A load. A weight. Something that made their lives worse just by existing. I watched it every night that week. I could hear the clink of his coffee mug, the rustle of the newspaper, and my mother's sigh in agreement. We should have sent her away when she turned 18. They were arranging their trip to Europe as I waited in a rental apartment I had paid for. In cash, allowing me to transfer the property deed quietly, I saved every email from the agent, wire confirmation and screenshot. The house I bought, my dream home, was now vacant. All furniture has been donated. All accounts are closed. My name is removed from all shared accounts. Every strand was severed, one at a time. But I still hadn't informed them because I wanted them to experience it. That moment arrived faster than I imagined. A week later, I received a text from my sister. "You're still covering Mom's therapy this month, right?" "No." "Hi." "No." "How are you?" Exactly the same assumption, the same entitlement. I responded, "Of course." Then I opened the portal and canceled the payment permanently. That weekend, they shared images from Paris. My father smiling beneath the Eiffel Tower. My mother wearing a beret and holding wine. Still living the dream. I saw the video twice. I noticed the glimmer of the band on my mother's finger, which I had bought for their 35th anniversary. They never said thank you, just wore it as if it had always been theirs. I logged out without checking again. The final transfer had gone through. The keys to my property were with the new owners. I left nothing behind. Not a single photograph, fork, or coat hanger. Just a sticky note on the front door, and a surprise because I was no longer their banker. I was not their go-to guy. I was. Not even family. I was the hurricane they didn't see coming. They returned from Europe on a Thursday. I knew the date. I'd been tracking their return like a meteorologist watching for a storm. Not with terror, but with calm precision. Their previous Instagram picture featured a boomerang of champagne glasses clinking beneath Venetian chandeliers. My mother captioned, "It Family first, always. I did not even flinch. The house was already gone, but they didn't know it yet. They landed, cheerful and sunburned, and wheeled their identical bags through customs, believing that the world had not changed. That I remained where they left me, loyal, silent, and useful. They presumably expected to return home to their driveway, step out of the Uber, and resume the life I had supported for 6 years. Except the driveway was empty, no car, there are no lights, and when they took out their keys, they didn't fit. I pictured it in vivid color. My father frowned at the lock and jiggled it as if it might change physics. My mother is trying hers next. The two of them stood there in quiet, waiting for something to make sense until they noticed the sticky note posted to the front door. Yellow, cheap, unmistakable. Black Sharpie, black letters, surprise. This is what a burden can do. I did not leave my name. Did not need to. The mailbox was also gone, removed, dismantled. The alarm was deactivated. The utilities have been transferred. The HOA has been alerted. The family portraits on the hallway wall have disappeared. The monogram. Towels I bought last Christmas were donated. The home is where the heart is sign is in the garbage. Everything was clean, sterile, as if they never lived there. It was as if I had wiped away the last vestiges of their comfort while they were busy drinking Bordeaux and acting like European royalty. And I did not punish them. This would convey feeling. I did it because I finally had clarity. I wasn't looking for restitution. I was only concluding a chapter that had quietly ended a long time ago. They called, of course, dozens of times. At first, there was confusion. Hey, we're locked. Out. Can you check with the alarm company then? Is the garage code changed? Then panic. Where's the furniture? Why isn't the Wi-Fi working? Why is your number disconnected? I didn't respond. By midnight, they had contacted every sibling and cousin. They wondered if it was a mistake, a robbery, or a hoax. But then my mother called my work phone number, which no one uses, and left a voicemail in that broken glass voice she saves for serious crisis. Please just tell us what's going on. We're at a hotel. The house? It's empty. The neighbor said a moving truck came last week. Was that you? Did something happen? Yes, something occurred. I heard you. I preserved the voicemail. I listened to it occasionally, not out of excitement. There is no joy in this, but as a reminder that even after labeling me a burden, draining my bank account, and removing me from every important family moment, they still expected assistance. That's what broke me in two. That's why everything snapped. The moment I understood they wouldn't change. That no matter how much I donated, how many bills I paid, or how many birthdays I remembered, I would always be optional, useful, and expendable. They screamed loudest when the money vanished, not when I did. I gave them 6 years of silent loyalty. They offered me silence and expectancy, a load, a disappointment, an accident that survived. So I left them with precisely what they earned. Nothing. The fallout began the next morning. By 7:13 a.m., I'd missed 42 calls. My mother left 3 voicemails in a row, each more desperate than the last. The first was perplexity. The second option is to panic. The third, full-blown meltdown. We just need to talk. Please just tell us what you did. I didn't respond. Instead, I logged into the final banking site, which they had forgotten I had access to the joint savings account I had set up solely in case of an emergency. It still contained $12,000, mostly from me. I clicked once, moved the funds to a private. Trust and canceled the account. Gone. Then I went for the insurance. I still had the policy in my name for the house where they used to dwell. They'd never switched it around, so I canceled it. I notified the firm that the property had been sold. I saw the confirmation email arrive in my inbox with a faint disconnected sense of completion. One more tie snipped. One less falsehood keeps us together. That afternoon, my father emailed me. A long and pitiful thing. No subject line. Just 600 words of blame and begging. He said he didn't mean what I heard, that I misinterpreted. The burden was about the situation, not on me. Then he asked if I could at least assist them get a lawyer to investigate what happened. To the house. The new owners allegedly changed the locks illegally. I nearly laughed illegally. They had no notion the property had not been in their names for more than a year. I transferred the title to a shell trust I had created with my accountant, the same trust that now owns the LLC, that sold the house for cash. It was multi-layered, secure, untouchable. They weren't simply shut out of the house. I'd finally gotten away from the dynamic. By day 3, my sister, the same one who used to give me screenshots of her Venmo requests, had weighed in. "You got it right," as if it were a joke. She sent a text. "You really going to do this to Mom and Dad? After everything they've done?" I read it twice. Everything they've done. That line lingered in my head like static, like white noise that wouldn't stop. She was referring to the dinners I was not invited to. I paid for the holidays, but watched them from my couch. I covered the therapy so that my mother could work through the stress of my presence. She meant everything. All the erasure, all of the exploitation is wrapped up in one easy guilt trip. I did not respond. Instead, I submitted a final motion. The estate planning forms I'd created 2 months before, which excluded my family from any emergency contact, medical direction, or asset designation. I turned them in that Friday. By Monday, they had legally lost access to everything. There are no more accounts under their name. There will be no more fallback plans. They did not lose their house. They lost their beloved crutch. And perhaps I enabled that for too long, believing I was assisting, while in reality I was simply delaying the inevitable. I also contacted the storage facility, which I had been discreetly paying for, and was full with their treasures, heirlooms, and boxes that they promised to bring up soon. I gave them 30 days notice, no extension. There's no warning. A valid eviction notice was delivered on Tuesday. They messaged the unit firm in a panic, said that was a mistake. It was not. I sold every piece of furniture I purchased for them. The couch, the antique sideboard, even the coffee machine they used to laugh at was too nice for them. They persisted on taking it nonetheless. I put everything online. I saw the listings go one by one. Every item is sold within 2 days. When my PayPal balance cleared, I made one more deposit to myself. No note, there's no message, just peace. The group chat eventually became silent. No more passive-aggressive memes. No more attempts at manipulation disguised as a joke. Just silence. My mother's final post was an old photo of us from when I was 8 with the statement, "You were always so sensitive. It did not sting. It verified everything because I was insensitive. I was finished." They never received the sticky note back. They tried, of course, and returned 3 days later, this time with a locksmith. But by then the locks had been altered. The mailbox had been removed, and the ownership was hidden behind business documents that they couldn't disentangle. The locksmith refused to break in, said the deed was done under another name. They departed in silence. I saw it happen, not from afar, from another nation, or on a screen. They saw a car 2 streets away that they did not recognize. Engine turned. Off, parked beneath a decaying elm tree. My parents stepped out of the Uber like kings, coming to a land that no longer wanted them. My father looked older, smaller. My mother didn't speak. She merely stood on the porch, staring at the door as if it would open out of guilt. It did not. They departed 10 minutes later. The house remained quiet. So did I. That silence, definitive and absolute, was the true ending. There is no major confrontation. There was no brawl in the driveway. There was no screaming match about family or forgiveness. Just the knowledge that they had lost contact with the single person who had ever kept them afloat. They did not cry because they missed me. They grieved because their money was gone. They cried because their safety net had been removed and burned. And to be fair, the net was real. I created it with care. But care without respect finally fails. They cried because the backup plan had evaporated. The load was the only one who had ever made a plan, and I made certain they felt every inch of their absence. I removed all the family group chats. I removed myself from every thread, shared photo album and Google Calendar, where they used to organize holidays for which I was not invited. I did not leave a message, just silence. A few days later, I received a letter from a paralegal, which was not handwritten or signed, but rather a folded page, something regarding misunderstandings and perhaps estate clarifications. I did not open it. I just put it in the shredder and returned to my tea. 2 days later, my former neighbor texted, "Your parents came by again, looked confused, just stood in the driveway confused, like this wasn't years in the making, like this wasn't earned." I blocked that number. They stopped calling after the second week. I believe the realization finally set in. Not only did they lose access to the residence, however, they had completely lost access to me. My sister's last SMS came from a different number. The message was short. "Are you really never going to speak to us again?" No greetings, no apologies, just disbelief. It seemed as if I could not exist without them. I did not respond. Instead, I went for a walk. The air was cold that evening, crisp with the aroma of rain still lingering on the grass. I walked past stores where I used to perform errands for them, the pharmacy where I picked up my mother's medicines. Nobody thanked me for the pastries I bought from the bakery. They were all simply buildings now. There's nothing attached, no weight. There is no debt. I took a breath. It seemed like the first breath in years. People seldom grasp what it means. To be the quiet one, the helper, the one who never makes a splash. They believe you'll keep doing it forever. They believe that quiet equals permission. They believe that the absence of a complaint constitutes agreement. However, silence does not equal peace. Sometimes it's about planning. And now they rent a condo on the outskirts of town. I saw it listed once while I was looking for an apartment a year ago. Cheap flooring, peeling paint. There is no light coming from the street-facing windows. I wonder if they ever peek outside and wonder where everything went. I wonder if they recall that night. Sticky note. Surprise. This is what a load can accomplish. They don't post frequently anymore. My mother used to fill her feed with brunches, spa days, and family-first captions. Now it's just quiet, resharing quotes. Don't burn bridges. Someone said they don't know the bridge was never theirs. They were just standing on it while I built the road underneath. And when I went away, the entire thing collapsed. My bank is currently quiet. There were no withdrawals that I remember. Approving. No automatic payments for electric bills that I never utilized. There are no Venmo pings from people who only say hello when rent is due. I used to send out money like blood from a weak heart. It is still there, stacking, growing, and utilized. Mine. I relocated to a new place. Not bigger, not louder. It's just mine. Every light, drape, and chair was chosen by and for me. There's no guilt embedded into the walls. No reminders of what I handed away without gratitude. Just silent. It's just space, just ownership. I sleep more now, deeper. My nightmares no longer wake me up with thoughts such as, did I forget to transfer the money? Or, will she be mad if I say no? Those voices are gone, and the space they left behind is stunning. Some nights I can still hear the call, the one he neglected to hang up. She's a burden, a disappointment. Should have never been born. But now, I'm letting the words echo. I do not fight them. I don't try to explain them away. I do not defend myself against ghosts. I just listen. And then I remember that house was mine. The stillness is also mine. That's the final note.